use something like track motion, I can do something unusual here. So let's say instead of just coming straight up, and this was one of the questions that we had from a previous chat that we had online. Somebody was asking, how can you make your credits scroll in some other direction? Well, you could use track motion to do that. So I'm going to take the track motion, and what I'm going to go back to my generator here, and let's make the background transparent for this case. And now that I've got my my track motion in here, let's see what I've created. And pretty soon, here come our credits. So here they come from some weird different angle, and you can see that I can use the track motion, or the track motion tool to place these differently and move them around, have them come in an angle, or whatever I want to do. So I can do, again, the point being, don't limit yourself to what the tools are in the text generator itself. You've got all kinds of different options if you use track motion and pan cropping and drop effects on there and transitional elements and so forth. You can start doing all kinds of interesting things with your text. All right, let's move on to the ProType Titler and see how that works. The ProType Titler is a much more sophisticated tool than the ones that we've been looking at so far. So let's take a look at how this works. I'm just going to drop this one event on with centered text. And here's our ProType Titler interface. And let's just make this a little bit bigger so you can see it all. So what we can do with the ProType Titler is we can get pretty sophisticated. So let's just take a quick look at how the ProType Titler works so that you can get familiar with the tools that are in here. And I'll expand this for now so you can see the whole thing. In fact, I'll move this event over so we can see both of them at the same time. And place this up in here. Okay. The key to understanding the ProType Titler is to understand the properties area off to the left. And if you're familiar with DVD Architect, and another webinar that we held a couple months ago was we took a look at the properties area of the DVD Architect workspace. And when we talked about that, we talked about how in DVD Architect, the properties area only shows you properties that are related to whatever you've got selected in your workspace. And it's the same case here with the ProType Titler. Right now I don't have anything selected in my workspace. I just have a piece of text and nothing selected. And you can see that I'm seeing preview properties in the left-hand properties pane. So if I want to change the background or make it a custom color or change the safe areas, I could do that here. I've got a tab for the font. These would be the default for any font that I add, the font size and the family. Now if I go in and choose and click the text to select it, I've now selected the text box, and you can see that I now have text block properties. And here we have a whole different set of tabs and different properties. So center, rotation, offset, and so forth. And we'll take a look at a couple of these as we go along. We've got an effects tab, so if I wanted to add a blur or a glow or a shadow or so forth, and a layout tab for tracking, line spacing, which is another word for leading that we looked at earlier, and some other things. So as we choose different objects over in our workspace here, we get different properties. Now if I double click the text block, I enter into text edit mode, and you can see across the top it tells me that I'm in text edit mode. And now I've got span properties or text properties instead of block properties. So I can change the font of this particular text, the style, the weight, so forth. The style tab holds things that, you know, like the color and the stroke color and so forth. And if I'm using an open type font, I've got some choices for the support that we have for open type font faces. So once I'm in text edit mode, again, I can change this to say whatever I want to say. I can change the size and so forth, but I'll leave that there for now. You can go in here and play with these things, but it's all of the normal things that you do in a word processor with the font and the size and the weight and the alignment and so forth. What's neat about the prototype titler is when you start getting into the text block area and you start working with what you've got here. Now, of course, I can move this text to wherever I want it. And you're not seeing it in the video preview window because I forgot to bring over the text block, but there we go. Okay. Oops, sorry. I'm just trying to resize this a little bit so you can get a better look at what's actually happening in the video preview window. Okay. Now, when you're working with the text block, and I'll move this over a little bit so you can see here. As you can see, I'm just moving it. I'm grabbing it, I'm rotating it, and so forth. I can do all of these things either by just clicking and dragging in the box here, or I can use the controls off to the left in the properties area. Okay, so maybe I'm going to move this over a little bit. Now, what's neat about this is that each one of these parameters is individually animatable. So I've got a toggle animation switch for virtually every one of these things. So if I wanted to do something simple like just move the text from the top to the bottom, I could animate my Y offset. And in here, in the keyframe controller area, then I've got a keyframe controller envelope. And let's say we're going to have it start at the top here, but about 2.5 seconds or so, or 3 seconds in, we want to move it down. And you can see in the video preview window, or in the keyframe controller area, you can see the envelope that causes that motion. And so if I play my project now, you see my text move down. Okay? Pretty simple move. But what gets neat about this is, let's delete that. We can move into this text block. Right now we're at the text block and it's affecting all of our text. But if I click this button, the Navigate to Child button, you'll notice that instead of highlighting the entire text block, it's going to navigate down to just one word. So now it's just the word my. If I want to move over to the next word, I could do that with these buttons here. But what this enables me to do is to now say, okay, now that I've got just that word selected, now let's do that same thing where we offset the Y. And we'll start it here, but at that 3-second mark, let's move it down. Let's take that and move it down to here. Okay, now when I play this, you'll see what you might expect to see, and that is just the my moves down, but the movie stays at the top. Okay, that's pretty cool in and of itself, that I can move one word down pretty easily without moving the other. But what if I wanted the word movie to come with it, but stagger them a little bit? That's where this starts to get kind of fun. And if I move this up a little bit, you'll be able to see this a little bit more effectively. Notice this button right here called the Toggle Cascade button. If I turn this on, Toggle Cascade on, click it to turn it on,